Okay, so a company I don't really have a whole lot of experience with is Baron Sons. They're USA made knives made in, I think, Alabama. And they make some traditional pocket knives. I have one of their Barlows. Um, I was really impressed with the handle covers on that knife, but not necessarily super impressed with the whole knife as a whole. Um, so yeah, but I recently just saw this on Smoky Mountain Knife Works and went ahead and ordered it. This is a Slimline Trapper made by Baron Sons, and shield here, carbon fourth generation. I'm not sure what the fourth generation thing means, but it is in fact carbon steel. And you get these cool wooden covers here that look really nice. Um, and then you get this, you know, really thin, long clip point blade, like a muskrat clip, pretty much, on this slimline trapper. And you can see here, Baron Sun, CS Carbon Steel USA. Um, and honestly, there's no gaps between the back springs and liners. The blade has no blade play at all. Uh, but the action doesn't snap closed. It does just barely snap open, but it doesn't really hold it open. That's one of those things that might change as I use it and everything. It might start to loosen up a little bit. Um, you know, from the parts rubbing together, it might start to like tolerance itself. I don't know if that's the correct terminology there, but with the metal on metal rubbing, it might eventually wear into the point where it actually does open and close more like a more traditional like pocket knife where it snaps open and snaps closed. But that being said, I still think it is probably a usable knife. It's got, tang here you can put your finger under and to cut so you're not as worried about it shutting on your fingers. Um, and I really like the way it looks, and this one's actually put together fairly decently. Other than the action, there's really no problems. Centering's a bit off. Um, it's really hard to show centering, but I don't think it's scratching the liner. If it is, it's just barely doing so. Um, but I think this is like a $35 knife. So, little issues with knives like this aren't nearly as serious as they are with like a case knife and stuff. A knife that's a lot more expensive because this one's like $35, made in America. That's like as cheap as you're gonna get a USA made knife like this. It's just that cheap because American made knives are not inexpensive, pretty much. This one was fairly inexpensive. Pretty much anybody could afford one of these, and it's fairly decent. I mean, it's not like great by most people's like standards for what a pocket knife should be these days because of Great Eastern Cutlery and some of the higher end brands. But this knife was $35, not 70 or 100 or 300 if you're buying a Great Eastern Cutlery on the secondary market. This was like $35, and for $35 this is a nice little knife. Granted, it's not perfect, but this is more than usable for a pocket knife for somebody. Um, that being said, this will be going into my carry rotation, I believe, because I like this one quite a bit more than my Baron Sons Barlow that I have. Um, because it just seems to be put together better, which is nice. So this will probably be going into my rotation as a carry knife. Um, So maybe at some point in the future, I'll be doing an update on this knife and show you all how it's holding up and everything. But for now, I figured I would show the knife as it's brand new, show that this one's put together pretty well, show the little issue of the action kind of sucking. And I did put some mineral oil in the like pivot area and try to work it in and everything. And this is what I ended up with. So, like I said, at some point, from opening and closing it a bunch of times throughout its like lifespan, it might eventually kind of clearance itself and the action might get better. But it also might not. But like I said, $35 pocket knife with basically the same amount of quality control as case these days. So, you know, Baron Sons is a company that, is out there and you can get knives from them that are certainly usable. Um, and they're a lot less money than case knives or any other like American made traditional knife. That being said, there's still obviously more than Rough Rider, um, but that's just the way it is um, with USA made knives anyway. But yeah, pretty happy with this purchase. Glad I got one. Um, yeah, but anyway, that's gonna be this video on the Baron Sons Slimline Trapper, and that's gonna be it for this video. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good day.